I did it again, damn it. Welcome into an all-new episode of Panthers on Tap. I'm Curtis Rauen, joined by Bryson, Karbley, Ricky Raines, coming to you guys on a Wednesday night. Weather has been pretty damn good lately. We're still waiting on Bryson here, but Ricky, start with you. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Like you said, the weather outside is weather. The pollen is definitely kicking my ass right now, man. I can't walk outside without being attacked by a million fucking bees, I feel like, just handing me the pollen right into my nose. I love the first comment that we have. First of all, the Zach Hernandez gave an awesome super chat, but the first comment in here, Sir Hendog, talking about Curtis better not have no damn red wine tonight. Oh, man, Sir Hendog, you are going to be very disappointed in our friend Curtis tonight, man. But I'm doing good, dude. Very happy to be here. I've got a Maryland Terrapin hat on in case anybody is not watching and only listening. And the reason for that is because my boys are dancing in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. So I'm in a good mood, man.
Yeah, congrats to your team and not so much for Bryson. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, I don't like that entrance, Curtis, but you're right. It's been rough for me out here as a Tar Heels fan, but, we're going to bounce back and get some recruits in the portal and things like that. So I'm feeling all right. I'm excited to talk about Panthers football.
Keaton, good to see you in the chat. Sir Hendog, we'll start with that right off the top. Yeah, I mean, you spoke it into existence. Red wine is back. It's from Apple Barn Winery in Sevierville. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, Tennessee. It's an apple raspberry reserve. 11%. It's good. It's some good wine. Bryson, what do you got? What do you got drinking? What are you drinking on tonight?
Yeah, now that I've caught my breath from running up the steps. Garage beer. This is I think Travis Kelce and Jason Kelsey's light beer they make. And it's pretty good, man. Just a nice little drinking beer. You can drink 8 of them and you don't get hungover. So that's the nice thing about it. Tastes like water. So pretty good to just sip on.
Those dudes will do anything. If they can jump into a market of some sort of bro, demographic, they're in. Hey, you guys want to make something and call it garage beer? Jason Kelsey's like, yeah, dude, let's do it. I'm so in. All right, I've got a couple different ones. First one I'm drinking right now is called Maloquential from Heist Brewery. It's an IPA brewed with toasted marshmallow. The story behind it is apparently they made this for their brewmaster's wedding, and it is their 10th anniversary, I think, Heist Brewery. So they made it again and available to the public this time. So it's 7.1% IPA with toasted marshmallow. Really nice. Second one, to go along with my Maryland hat, this is from y'all's neck of the woods, Trophy Brewery up there in Raleigh. And this is called From Downtown. You can see it's like an old 90s
I love that
NBA jam. Yeah, it's cool, right?
Yeah, that's
so I figured this would just be perfect as an IPA, a little 6.7 ABV on it. So I haven't even tried it. I'm crack the seal on that one just for the show tonight.
Cheers to the winos out there.
Look at that. You got Carlo on your side. That's a good person to have on your side.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. We're gonna have a mock draft later in the episode, post free agency mock draft. Now that things have slowed down considerably, I do want to shout out quickly here the guys over at For Panthers Fans Only. I just put my camera down. These shirts they put out, Bryson's got one on as well. It's the Carolina Reaper t-shirt, $40. Ordered one immediately, and I got it within a couple days. So stock up on those. I don't really know if I can turn around here, but you get it. Maybe Bryce can show it off while I'm talking. They got I don't even know. Oh, it's got Carolina Reaper on the back, and then it has number 9 for Bryce.
Yeah. So Curtis said, stand up and do a twirl, baby.
I'm not gonna do a 360 for you, Curtis.
And I don't know about you, Bryson, but the shirt is comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not, for me at least, it's not super tight or the material's stiff. So go get yours now. It's For Panthers Fans Only. Check them out. Also check out their podcast as well. They do some good stuff. But let's get into it. I want to start right with a super chat, because when we come on and we had a super chat, I'm not kidding you, a half hour before the show. I love every bit of that, and that just is a shout out to everyone and let folks know we do have a super chat. So take advantage of it on YouTube. But Zachary Hernandez coming in hot with $20. He says Dan Morgan said they want to add another safety. Why not make a trade for Kirby Joseph? He's entering the last year of his contract, and he would add a dog mentality to the defense. Lions have to pay Hutchinson next. First, let's cheers to that, and then we'll discuss that right off the top here, Zachary. We appreciate it.
Zachary.
And
cheers,
anyone who donates to us and sends us a super chat, we would appreciate as well. But Ricky, you want to start with that?
Yeah, why not? In theory, I love it, Zachary. I think that Kirby Joseph is a terrific safety. He would add, like you said, that toughness, that mentality. I think where I struggle with that idea, though, I haven't heard anything about him being even remotely available. And second, I think that he's kind of one of those, lifelines of the Detroit Lions. He's kind of one of their identity players. And so I think that losing Ben Johnson, kind of having to rebuild what they are right now as a team a little bit, I would be surprised if Dan wanted to lose one of his leaders. But hey, look, if he wants to, I'm not opposed to it. I wouldn't give up a gigantic amount of capital to get him. As you say, you're going to have to pay him. He's in the final year of his contract as well. So look, if you get Kirby Joseph for a 3 or a 4, hey, look, what have I said all these times, guys? Turn Johnny Mingo's pick into something, and I'm going to be a happy camper. So if you could turn Johnny Mingo into Kirby Joseph, hey, stick a feather in your hat and call it whatever the fuck you want.
Amen. Bryson?
Yeah, I agree with Ricky, man. I don't know if I believe he's available. He is a younger safety, just finishing up his rookie contract, playing really well for the Lions. I agree with what Ricky said in regards to he's probably like a foundational piece for them. I imagine they'll probably treat him like the Panthers treated J.C. Horn here in Carolina. He's ours and he's not available. In a perfect world, he would be, and potentially, Carolina could go that avenue and pair him with Trevon Moehrig. I always get confused on how to say that name, so I should have never watched that episode that I was out. So yeah, I mean, I think that'd be great, but realistically, I'm not sure, how realistic that is.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset. I'd rather go out and get a safety in the draft or go and get one of these guys that are still available in free agency, because I still think there's some guys that are serviceable out there, and I do think there's some really good players in the draft. So I'm more of that aspect of it, and I also think that he's not available. I don't see them wanting to get rid of him, and I do think they are trying to keep as much as possible after losing both of their coaches on both sides of the ball. So I would think that's pretty far-fetched. I don't mind the idea, though, because he's a hell of a player, and that safety room would benefit greatly if he was here. So I do appreciate the question, Zachary. And
I like the forward thinking there from Zachary, though, right? Like that's an out of the box. That's looking into things. I mean, that's a really interesting thing to at least pose, even if it's probably more unrealistic than realistic. I think it's a really good idea, Zachary.
Well, why don't we jump right into it? He kind of teased Dan Morgan here. I don't know about you guys. I did not expect press conferences today at all. I kind of was taken aback by that. I don't know if I'm sure the media obviously knew about it, but usually that comes out somewhere, and I didn't see that. But yeah, Dan Morgan and Brant Tillis spoke today. Just general takeaways from that. I think we might as well just start with kind of Zachary mentioned, and that was safety was the big theme of this press conference, but I also think it was something that the media asked heavily. So I don't know if that was just where the media was wanting to go with it, or Dan Morgan was really pushing that they need to go out and get a safety, because that generally was the question of a lot of the beat reporters that were in that Zoom call today, I believe. So I don't know if it's to say like that is their biggest pressing need, but it's definitely a hole to fill on this team. And, Dan made mention of it today that, and I tweeted out the exact quote. Now it's blanking on me, that there is plenty of safeties in the draft. I can't remember the exact quote he said, but that's an option. And then he said he likes a couple guys off the street. So
yeah, called it a good crop, I think.
Thank you. That's what it was. Good crop. Yeah. So that was one of the takeaways for me, was that, and that they're going to hone in on that, I would think, over the next couple of weeks, maybe in the next couple of days, if they can get one of these guys that they brought in. But Bryson, key takeaways or any big one takeaway, I guess. Let's just stick to one. One takeaway you from either Brant Tillis's presser today or Dan Morgan.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, we're not done. We're absolutely not done adding to this team. I think is what a lot of Panthers fans wanted to hear, with Brant Tillis talking about the cap and there being some space still available to maneuver, and Dan Morgan making the comments of like you said about the safeties, and I feel like it was heavily keyed on the safety room because of that's what's hot in the streets right now. They just brought in 2 safeties for visits for free agency. We know they only have 2 safeties under contract. There is an obvious hole there. So I don't know if that's like Dan Morgan's sole focus right now, but I think it's what a lot of fans are talking about currently. So that's what kind of relayed into that presser. So yeah, just overall, they're not done adding, and I would anticipate some more moves soon.
All right, I'm going to change it up a little bit, Ricky, and then you can give me a takeaway.
I feel like you always do that to me. Every single time it's my time to talk, you're like, "Hey, I'm going to switch this. I'm going to."
I know you're adaptable though. That's why I do it to you.
Son of a beast.
But out of those, while we're talking about safety, if you had to choose between one of these guys that they brought in this week, is there one you prefer over the other out of Blackman and Williams here?
I would probably lean Julian Blackman. Julian Blackman had a foot injury early in the season last year. That he ended up playing a lot more strong safety, kind of limiting his, I guess, range, right? Like his step count, if you will. And that's a little bit out of his natural position. He's more of a free safety. So I think that he fits a little bit more complementary than Marcus Williams. I like Marcus Williams fine. I'm not necessarily like in love with either of them, but I know that we have got to bring in somebody who's not Damani Richardson to at least provide some sort of depth and competition for starter. But I think that, and what I'll do is I'll just segue myself back into that conversation that I wanted to be a part of before Curtis told me I had to leave. But I think that's kind of where it goes back into what Dan was talking about, right? And how it always ended up at safety. Because Curtis, you brought up an interesting point that I didn't really think about either. Like, was it the questions from the media that were leading him to talk about safety, or was it just sort of like that natural course that he kept leading himself to talk about safety? And I think that when I heard Tillis as well do a little bit of commentary, and he mentioned, it was a very direct question from Alex Zetlow of the Charlotte Observer about receiver and about are you interested in taking a receiver high? This was to Dan, I think, at that point, but he had asked him, like, are you interested in taking his receiver high? Are you going to do that? And it was like, look, we're trying to bring in impact players. We want guys that are going to, fit the culture, that are going to fit the locker room, that are going to impact the team, that are good football players. Like, we're not necessarily worried about the position and how much money we're going to pay them. We're paying players what they're worth. And I think that's a strategy that you could kind of correlate back into their draft strategy, right? When they talk about best player available, I don't think that they're as caught up in these like positional needs that so much of our fan base gets caught up in. And I think the reason that safety sticks out is because safety was the culprit for a lot of really bad play last season. And it was the culprit for Evero kind of having, look, he runs a lot of single high anyways. He's a cover 3 coach. Even before he had the personnel strap, he did it in Denver. But when you're single high, dude, that safety, you're trusting him. You got a ton of trust in him. The communication needs to be spot on. He needs to be not taking bad angles. He doesn't need to be getting beat deep. He needs to understand where he is. He needs to be able to key in on routes and identify them. And I don't think we had much of that. So I think what they are literally saying is, think of the impact that a terrific safety could do for this defense. If they don't improve the pass rush, they're going to continue to have to send extra people. And I think that they're more concerned about, hey, if we draft one of these ends, one of these defensive ends or these edges or these outside linebackers, however you want to positionally label them, we draft one and he doesn't come in here and blow everyone's socks off with pass rush, we still have to rely on our secondary. We just gave JC a ton of money. We got Trayvon Merrick. I believe that's how we say it, right? We got Trayvon Merrick. If they were to go and get that center fielder, right? And I keep going back to Malachi Starks in my head because I know that he is my absolute favorite safety prospect in this class. And I know that I am feeling really confident in his abilities. You let him play single high, that is where he's best. And I just can't help but think that they've got some sort of vision for something similar to that and how that could really affect their game next year in the defensive unit as a whole.
I think for me, sorry, I'm just thinking based off of like them doing these visits, just makes me believe that they're more interested in a free agent safety and then bringing someone in as a rookie later in the draft than if they were to go out and get a guy like Malachi Starks personally. Because Blackman, there's several teams that would like his services on their team as well. So I don't think, I mean, I know it's kind of the second tier of free agency at this point, but if they were interested in going out and get a rookie, I think they would bring in someone lesser, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And I don't think you're wrong. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong about that. This was me personally fantasizing, right, about what Malachi Starks and that kind of caliber of player, in my opinion, could do to the defense. But I think you're right, too. I think it's a good read. Second, third round may be more of what they're looking at.
And I mentioned, and Ricky, you touched on, I honestly think the reason why the safety conversation came up today, Bryson touched on it too, that was the most recent thing. Visits were happening this week. Reporters, guys on the beat and women on the beat wanted to know where they stood on those visits. And that's why I think it came up. I don't think Carolina's like, holy shit, we're getting a safety at 8. Like, I don't think that. I don't want people coming away with that, thinking that, because I didn't take that away from it at all. And I watched the entire thing front to back. And the thing I got from it was reporters were just asking the questions, and it was all tailored towards that. Was I a big fan of that? Not really, to be honest. I mean, I thought no one asked about the edge group, which I thought that was a big question. Like, if that's kind of where they're headed, and it seems like, reading the tea leaves, that might be the pick at 8. No one asked about it yet. And I know there was probably going to be another press conference before the draft, but that was one answer I was kind of hoping to get, or at least something on that. But let's talk about wide receiver, because everyone always wants to talk about that position. And Alex Zetlow, Mr. A to Z, I love that nickname.
Great one.
He comes on, and Ricky nailed it. He's like, he kind of was trying to, ease into the question and just full on like, nope, we're gonna ask it. Are you gonna pick a wide receiver at 8?
Loved it, man. He was being very tactful, right? Like, and he was trying to word it the right way, and then he was like, almost in his head, it was like he was just like, man, I just got to fucking do this. Are you guys going to take a receiver at 9? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, that sorry to put you on the spot was
sorry to put you on the spot was my favorite, dude. That was
the cherry on top.
So, Bryson, you have been big on pushing that train at that pick. So I want to get your take on Dan Morgan's answer to that question. What did you think of it?
I think it was coach speak, man. I don't think he answered it yes or no either way. If I'm remembering correctly, he stated that they felt like they were in a position to take the best player available for on their board and based on needs and things like that. So I don't think he tipped their hand one way or another, and I think he's being very tactful with that. I was on Kitty Lit with Alex, Ricky's former co-host, this week, and we talked about that as well. That I don't think Dan Morgan gets enough credit for how smart he actually is. He kind of has like that Dan Campbell, like goofy, meathead persona, but I think behind the scenes he's actually a lot smarter than people give him credit for. So I think, again, with what happened last season with the Xavier Legette situation, we talked about it last week. I think they're a little bit more timid on which way they want to talk about their leaning or telling prospects how they like them or things like that. And I think, until we get to day 1 of the draft, we're really not going to know what's going to happen with pick 8. Trade up, trade down, pick a player there, wide receiver, edge. Hell, I don't think really anybody has an idea besides the people in that building.
Before Ricky jumps in, I got to take a shot at Alex, because I watched some of that Kitty Lit episode. And Alex, for how much shit you give me for your internet, it was dog shit. You need to fix up you need to fix your dial up at your restaurant, because I believe you were at your restaurant. Fix your internet, man. That was dog shit. But Ricky, go ahead. Thoughts on his comments about wide receiver? And I totally agree with Bryce.
I think you might also be forgetting that maybe Alex could be cosplaying the Minecraft movie or something like that. Maybe that's what he was doing there, really getting amped up for the release coming in April. Anyways, so before I will get to my point, I want to shout out the chat real quick, because we've had some really good comments in here too that we've brought up to the screen. But I like to talk on them a little bit too, like when somebody poses a good one. Rio here says, I believe in their plan. It seems like they have a plan and are sticking to it. I feel like this head coach front office tandem is the best we've had in a while. I will say that I feel like they're the most aligned we've had in a while, right? I can't call them the best we've had in a while because I'm not blown away necessarily with the return of the first draft. Free agency had some good intentions as well. I just think that I can see a plan, man. And I don't know about you guys, but I can see them having a vision of they're aware of where they're not good right now. Like they are hyper aware of their soft zones, right? And I think that they are trying to attack that. You look at like the specific technique and roles that guys are bringing with them, and it's something that we didn't have, that we have to have if we want to fix it. So I agree with Rio there. This is an encouraging group. And then Keaton asks, is Starks too high at 8? Not for me. I answered in the chat, not for me. I would do it in a heartbeat. I'm a Starks believer. I think that he's fantastic. He's going to be one of the best players in this draft. But I think the more realistic thing is what Curtis is talking about, going a little bit further back, or Starks being a trade back possibility too. If you do find that person that wants to dance that two-person tango and give you a second round pick, I could see them going back and saying, hey, look, if Malachi ends up being our pick, our award for moving back, I'm cool with that. Like they're not going to look that gift horse in the mouth. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh, the wide receiver thing.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know that they're going to have interest in taking a receiver at 8. That seems very rich for what they're doing right now.
Agreed.
I really get the feeling they are zoned in on defense. I don't think it's dismissing the offense, but I think when they look at this and say, we need an elite pass rusher, we need an elite interior rusher, we still have secondary help, and we could use an elite linebacker. That's a lot, man, to want and say, we've got this Xavier Legette guy that we drafted in the first round. I think that that's the main thing, dude. And the three of us have talked about this a few times. If they're still all the way in on Xavier Legette, I think a lot of fan worry is because they're not 100% in on Xavier Legette as the wide receiver 1 of this football team. You hear more people talk about Jalen Coker possibly being the best receiver on this football team. That may be true, but it also may be more of I have doubts with Xavier Legette. Xavier Legette was told he was going to be in a Mike Evans role. Whether that means usage-wise, alignment, routes that he's going to run, anything like that, or whether that means you're going to be our target monster. Like we're going to run our offense through you. We're going to build schematically and conceptually around you being the threat on our offense. If they still believe that, man, I don't see them using 8 at a wide receiver when they need all this other stuff. That's just my opinion.
No, I totally agree with you. And I'll go a step further.
I know you hate that.
I'll go a step further. I think it's down to the 2 Georgia guys. I think that one of those guys is the pick at 8, wholeheartedly. I unless Mason Graham falls, I think Jalen Walker or Mikael Williams is a Panther at pick 8.
And can we say too, man, if Mason Graham does fall, they need to just make that the pick. They 100%. Still are. They're still 100%. In a major way needing interior pass rush. They need anybody that can get after the quarterback, first of all. But the interior pass rush, dude, is critical. And I know they got Treshawn Wharton. That's a role player, man. That's a rotational role player that had one good year of production.
Not for what they paid him.
Not for what they paid him, but we talked about that too. That was an overpay that we knew they were going to do.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's an upside player. He could develop into that kind of player on a regular basis, but you don't bank on that. If you bank on that and that's your like, hey, we're set, man. We've got one guy that can get after the quarterback, right? That's the only guy on the roster. That's not a good outlook, man. So like if you can get Mason Graham, if he falls into your lap, run the card up. He's your guy for 4 or 5 years. Turk could be gone in a year, maybe 2. Don't overthink it. Take the elite player if they fall.
And let me be clear. If Mason Graham falls to 8, that's my pick. I'm not going wide receiver. I'm not going any other position. Mason Graham was my favorite prospect in this class, and I've said it before. I think he's as can't miss of a prospect as you can get. But if he's not there at 8, which I don't anticipate he's going to be, and they don't go wide receiver, I do not prefer either of the Georgia guys. I would prefer to go Will Johnson, cornerback route. Maybe, I know it's controversial, but maybe even tight end or Tyler Warren. I think the value there is higher at this point in time for Carolina. I feel like both of the Georgia guys are a work in progress. And I don't know how much immediate impact they're going to make. I think Michael Williams makes more on run defense. I think that's pretty clear based off of what he did at Georgia. He comes in and improves the rush defense immediately for Carolina. Jalen Walker, definitely more of a project, in my opinion, in regards to pass rush and defending the run. But they both have extremely high upside. So I can see why Carolina is interested and why many other teams are in that top 10 for both of those guys. But in my opinion, I'm more of a corner, wide receiver. Mason Graham's there, take him.
And the thing on the corner thing, and I haven't done a whole lot on Will Johnson, but I don't think Carolina thinks that's as big of a need as we do. I don't. I think they really value Mike Jackson, and they brought him back for a reason. And Joe Smith-Wade is another guy I think they still value. Now, are they going to bring in someone maybe to compete with him? I think so, probably later in the draft, second, third, fourth round maybe. But I personally don't think they touch corner at all in the first. I don't. I don't think they don't value that as a major need on this team. I could be wrong, but all the signs between they want to take guys from winning programs, the visits to Georgia's pro day, they backed out of going. A lot of the top front office guys backed out of going to Georgia because Michael and Jalen weren't doing most of the drills. Like Dan Morgan didn't go. Like those signs, like it's all pointing that way at this point. It really is. I mean, it's almost too obvious, and maybe they go a whole nother direction. But yeah, I think Mason Graham, I think we'd all agree. I think he's one of the safest picks in this draft that I don't think you can fuck up. Like he's going to be a hell of a player. It's just Jacksonville their GM has said in like the last 2 weeks, they need interior defense line. And there is your interior defensive lineman right there. So it's hard to believe he would go get past the Jaguars. But if the Jaguars don't take him, I do think there's a possibility he falls to 8.
When you think about this defense and you're talking about the cornerbacks, and I keep coming around to this, Curtis, I love Will Johnson, and I think that he's an elite prospect. So I don't have any beef with taking him. I think he's a fantastic prospect, sincerely. But when I watch it, it doesn't matter. Even if you had Will Johnson there, right? Or even if you had Malachi Starks, we still, regardless of what you do there, and I'm cool with either of those, right? Regardless of what you do there, if you don't amplify that pass rush, it's not going to matter. You are stressing your coverage out so badly by the way that we have absolutely nobody putting pressure on a quarterback. I mean, we got nothing, man. You cannot go into games. And we talk about Ejiro Evero and give him a lot of heck here, right, on this show. I don't know why I said heck as if we don't curse on the show. I've been saying fuck all episode, and I said we give him a lot of heck. That was crazy. That was crazy. I feel like I'm in like a dog man comic.
You just dropped us. You just dropped us down to radio.
Yeah, what the hell? I sincerely apologize. I'm going to write a written formal letter and apologize.
It's like Hubert Davis cussing.
Yeah, that was nuts, right? Wow. Having a mustache will really change a guy, you know. Anyways, so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about this defense, though, and it doesn't matter what you do. We give Evero a lot of grief. He is hamstrung here, man. Like what do you do when you have to send people? He can't use the schematics that he wants to use. He is being forced into doing certain things because of personnel limitations. We have got to find him. Maybe it's not the first round, but you have absolutely got to find him at least one, if not two pieces that are going to get to the quarterback in under 3 seconds. That's the threshold, right? 2.5, 3 seconds. You have got to find one or two pieces that can do that on a consistent basis, or else it won't matter how many good secondary players you have. I'm of that opinion, at least, is that you have absolutely got to have a pass rush. And that's why I don't eliminate guys like James Pierce off of my board, because that first step, that get off that he has, his ability to wreck a play within the first 2 seconds, we don't have that. Nowhere. Pat Jones is not that. I like Pat Jones, but he's DJ Wanham, right? He's a guy that can get there eventually and that has a good motor. Those aren't winners right off the blocks. We need a winner right out of the block.
Yeah, that's a fair argument.
Oh, go ahead.
That's a fair argument, and I completely understand where you're coming from, Ricky, and you're making a really good point. But I think when we're talking about pass rush, a guy that is really put up like crazy numbers the other day I think you know where I'm going with this, Ricky.
I do, yeah.
Has off the field obvious issues in Mike Green. His 3-cone, which was like elite speed on that 3-cone drill. I think that's a player that I like. James Pierce Jr. a lot. I really do. I think he's probably my second favorite edge rusher in this class. But Mike Green is another guy that, obviously his draft stock is slipping, but was talked about earlier in the offseason as being a potential top 5, top 10 pick. That's a guy that could be available towards the back end of the round, and maybe Carolina gets a trade back option and is able to take a guy like that out of Marshall University. Baby, go Herd.
I love how you threw that in there at the end. I just don't. This franchise, from a historical standpoint, has been very skittish with guys that have off-field issues. And I'm not even talking about the severity that the claims around Mike Green are, right? Like those are serious things in nature that I just really struggle seeing them. But I love the talent that kid has. That kid is a bona fide pass rusher. So I have no knock on him as far as like on film, on field. I just don't know how comfortable this regime is going to be with that kind of stuff.
And the guys you mentioned, I think those are players, if they were interested, they would go after in a trade back. I would be shocked if they took Pierce over the two Bulldogs. I really do. I think those guys are more likely if they go in that 12 to 15 range trade back. But I mean, I agree with you, Bryce. I think Mike Green's a hell of a player. I really do. The off the field stuff it sucks because I, like Ricky said, I don't think Carolina touches a player like that. The way they're trying to build this culture, I can't see that. But I'll tell you what, whoever gets him, he's going to be one hell of a player. I think that without a doubt. Like the guy I think he's going to be a special talent on a team where a guy is going to go after the quarterback and get double-digit sacks in a season.
Yeah, and Alex brings up Greg Hardy. The Greg Hardy stuff happened after he was a selection. Like that wasn't something that he necessarily had these red flags. He didn't commit the things that he committed before he was drafted, right? So, I mean, that's one of my examples of why you need to learn from potential issues that you could see, right? If there's any conversation about somebody being temperamental in a negative way off field, whether it comes to women or domestic situations, anything like that, take heed. Wasn't Tepper trying to get Watson? Wasn't that before the reporting came out of the 3,000 masseuses that he was slapping around, right? And I don't mean with his hands, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, wasn't that before that? And like, hey, look, I'm really glad we dodged that bullet. Maybe Tepper doesn't have an issue going after those things, but that was also with Matt Rule in place. That was also with different regimes around. Do you think Dave Canales, the guy who's, born again type situation, has all the infidelity, is a family man, and that whole thing, do you think he is going to sit there and say, hey, look, Mike Green could be really what we need in this locker room? I don't know. And I don't know Mike Green personally, so I don't mean that, right? I'm just saying that the allegations around him, and if that's the persona that possibly he could bring with him, that doesn't seem to mesh with what they have prioritized. They got rid of Deontay Johnson because he was yappy and because he was, diva-ish. That seems minute on the scale if we're talking about the other things we're talking about.
Another guy on edge rushers just made me think of this, and I just wanted to get your guys' take. You find it interesting that things have cooled off with Shamar Stewart. Was it just one of those things like he tested really well at the combine, he was hot for a week, and now things have died off? Or do you really think this guy is kind of slipping in the first round? Because you don't hear much about him anymore. You don't. Like, I know people still, they talk about his traits, but I feel like that has kind of fizzled out since the combine.
I think he's still going to go top 25 picks. A guy with that size, that athleticism,
but
and
top
he does.
15. I'm talking about a guy who, like, there was
I
about
think
him in Carolina.
I still think that makes the connection with Carolina made a lot of sense because of the physical thresholds that Carolina has had for the position and for what the techniques and the roles that Evero's system is going to ask these guys to play. Shamar fits that. Like, he fits that billing. And make no mistake about it, man. He's got a lot of flash tape under his belt. He's got some really disruptive play. I'm just not a big fan of the undisciplined and lack of finishing. That's what always threw me off with Shamar. But from a physical standpoint, you don't ask for much more than what he brings to the table, if you want my honest opinion. That dude is a freak of nature when it comes to athleticism, but he also does have some football acumen. It's not like he's bereft of knowing how to play the game. He just doesn't finish. And what I don't want is always a bridesmaid, never a bride at pick 8. I want that walk down the aisle, throw the bouquet at me, and take the damn thing off your thigh. Like, I want to feel alive when I get that number 8 pick. You know what I mean? So that's, I know.
Oh my God, Ricky. You always have the best analogies, just like right off the cuff. You don't got to think about it.
Y'all let me talk too long. I start wearing off into weird places, man.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I mean, yeah, Shamar Stewart, when I was talking about earlier, like projects of players that are going to need some refinement coming into the NFL, I feel like he really falls into that more than any player we've talked about. Ricky mentioned, the traits and his size and his speed and his, his tests from the draft or the combine and things like that. He's got the build and everything you want, but the knock is, Ricky mentioned, the motor and taking plays off every now and then. And, how frustrated is a guy like that going to get being in Carolina if, the team's losing or you're not in a game or, we saw like last season, Jadeveon Clowney, when he was on the field, early in his career, he had motor questions and, how much does the guy love football? But last season, I feel like he continued on an upward trajectory of, this guy's on the field, he's giving you all he's got. I don't know how much of that's in Shamar Stewart at this point, being a younger guy and seeing that on some of his tape. I haven't really took a deep dive into him, but yeah, I think that's definitely a question. But if we're just purely looking at traits, he's one of the best with size and speed in that edge group. And I think a team in that top 15, top 20 is going to love that and take him.
Any other takeaways from Dan Morgan? Ricky, I thought you brought up, I think you tweeted this out. There was something on what Dan Morgan said that I don't know if it I think he was referring to free agents, but it could have been kind of a hint at what they're kind of looking for in prospects as well.
Yeah, it might even be what David Gibson here, his comment.
Yes.
Dan Morgan said we want guys bigger, faster, stronger on D-line. And so David is under the impression, that it would signal that Michael Williams is the pick. Gregory Rousseau comp. Greg Rousseau, the D-end out of Miami a few years back, plays for the Bills. Yeah, look, David, I don't think that Michael is out by any means. I think that there's real steam and real smoke there, that they do like him. He's a good prospect, by the way. The people that don't like Michael Williams, I mean, I get it, man. He doesn't have the gaudy sack numbers. He doesn't have the pass rush win rate. Pass rush win rate for a 4-eye technique interior defender is never going to look like a wide 9 speed guy like Mike Green or James Pierce. Just to get that out of the way or like early, right? But David, the thing that Dan also said after that, right, is he says, you want the guys that are bigger and stronger on the D line. He's like, but that doesn't mean that there aren't guys that are shorter that don't have real traits that make up for that or that mask that, like real power, toughness, and never giving up and playing 100%. That was his follow-up to his point about the bigger, faster, stronger guys. To me, what that tells me, maybe not at pick 8, right? Because maybe pick 8 is still too rich for them to say, hey, we're ready to make an exception to what we typically do with our process. But it also signals to me that they are interested or are open to making an exception. And there are guys that would fit absolutely beautifully within this team. We talk about needing a rusher. Aeneas Peebles, the interior defensive lineman out of Virginia Tech. I mean, you're talking about a sawed-off type body frame, 6'1", 280. This dude is all juice, man. Like, that would be a terrific. You talk about the platoons that they're running. Josiah Stewart, the edge. Look, if everyone likes Jalen Walker, take a look at Josiah Stewart. This is a guy that I've brought up multiple times. He's good against the run, just like Jalen Walker is. 6'1", 245, 46 pounds, and he gets after it. Now, he was a full-time edge player at Michigan. That's encouraging to me because if you're going to play him out wide 9, if he's going to come in on like your nickel packages or something like that, that's exactly what kind of player you want. I think you could see him play a little Sam in the NFL. I don't know. That's going to be up to the coaching staff. But it tells me that they're open to different things, and that they're not going to be super duper rigid. And that was interesting to me. I don't know how y'all heard that one or what you think about it.
No, yeah, I think they kind of opened them up a little bit. I agree with you, to guys that, one trait might be not, fit the threshold or the measurement. And I kind of hope they are open to that. Because, I mean, even Mason Graham is a guy that doesn't fit their mold. And if he's there, I think they would take him, to be honest with you. So,
100%.
I hope they are more open to that, because I do think that has turned them away from prospects that are, better than what they've went after in previous drafts that they missed out on. So, I kind of hope they are turning the corner on that. Bryson?
Yeah, I agree. I think this, going back to the point I made earlier about Dan Morgan, I think he doesn't have enough credit where credit's due this early on in his career, which I completely understand. But I think he's smart, and he knows, if this player doesn't fit our stereotypical mold that we've had for so long in Carolina, and he works, and he's maybe a couple inches shorter, or a couple pounds lighter. Let's give it a shot, man, because what we've been doing hasn't been working in Carolina for a couple of years. So I don't think Dan's stuck in his ways, and if the arms don't meet a certain length, or he's not heavy enough, or he's not tall enough, I don't think that's gonna sway them to not take someone that they feel very very highly about.
And we talk about Mason Graham not fitting some of the thresholds, right? And I think this is an important point. I'm glad, Curtis, that you mentioned that like if Mason falls, they're not going to pass up on him just because of the system or their thresholds type thing. I think that's in general the way that teams should look at things. There's nothing wrong with accounting for your scheme and what you are deploying. You should want guys that can play that scheme well. That's not a crazy thing to say, man. Like, that's what you're running. And different schemes ask different things of their players and of their roles. But when you have a blue chip guy, that's where you don't get cute, right? We've got the saying here, make the donut. You don't get cute. You don't try to get your D with the donut in the top 5 blue chip prospects. Like, you take the donut, you eat it, and you walk away happy as hell. Like, that's what you do. You don't mess around with it and try to toss it on the stick. But when you're talking about like 3rd or 4th round type of things, that's where I would love to see them say, who was it, the Wisconsin guy, Curtis, that you liked a lot? Nick Herbig,
Yep.
the edge out of Wisconsin. He's kind of that like hybrid type of guy. And everyone was like, well, he's too small, man. He doesn't set the edge for Evero. Where he went, they should have took a chance on that because of the skill set that he brings. That's where a guy like a Josiah Stewart, a David Walker, the kid out of Central Arkansas. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter or watch any of this show that we've done before, Draft Crush, David Walker's a madman. He's 6'2", 265 pounds, and he is just a bowling ball of muscle that wants to run over and through offensive tackles. That's who I want to see, man. If you could get him at pick 114, turn Johnny Mingo to David Walker. Give me a shirt that says that.
No, I mean,
Bryson, you can order 12 of them for like $600.
That's my biggest gripe though with this front office is they're so worried about measurements all the time. It's just like go out and get good football players.
Right.
Figure it out. I mean, like, let's figure this shit out after the draft. Like, go out and get good guys that perform and show up during games in college, and do it against some high level talent. And let's get out of this measurement bullshit, because that's what it is, man. And then we sit here next year complaining about the first couple picks of the draft.
Yep.
Like, they got to get out of that. They got to get out of that mold. Let's talk about a couple of top 30 visits that I thought were kind of interesting, because Carolina, they do have Chuba Hubbard that they paid last year. They bring in Dowdle to replace Miles Sanders. They did draft Jonathan Brooks last year. But Panthers are bringing in some backs. It's no secret. Top 30 visits, they're going to be bringing in Auburn's. I'm not even going to attempt that first name, but Hunter in Oklahoma State. Running back Ollie Gordon the second. Thoughts on this, guys? It sounds like they want a kind of a bruiser from what I can tell out of these two. Is that correct, Rick, or am I making shit up?
Sorry, I had it on mute. Yes, that is correct. I'll tell you an interesting thing. We're building out that Carolina draft guide. And
yeah, where the hell is it, man? I want to see that.
It's going to be in April. It's going in April, man. We got to get through everything first. It's a lot of work, man. I'm pissed off at myself for doing this, by the way. But the interesting thing that I found is I'm going through historical picks of all the regimes that Dan Morgan, Dave Canales, Evero have been in prominent positions for, right? And their GMs, and try to see, because that's what shaped these guys. That's what molded their thinking. Their playing days, obviously, for Dan has something to do with it too, and you can find some letters there. But these things are all correlated, like they're all linear and they track. They've drafted one running back amongst all of them from 2010 to now, and they've drafted a ton of running backs, dude. These regimes drafted running backs constantly. One of them has been sub 200 pounds, and you know how much he weighed? 199 pounds. Like, they don't really believe in that little like scat back. Like, that's not something that they've prioritized. It's not something that they think they need. I think that when they look for, and a lot of times that's what fans like to think of for like a third down back, right? Is that you need like that little like pass catching guy who's shifty and can make defenders miss. But I think that their philosophy seems to be, you can get elusive players that can also hold up and have good contact balance and not just make guys miss, but go through a tackle. Because that's a lot of times the difference. Think about Chuba Hubbard, what we saw for the first couple of years of his season or of his career, and what we've seen the past two. Staying on your feet, getting through tackles, man, has been a revelation for Chuba Hubbard. I think that they know that works in the NFL. There are guys also that you could get that have quick feet, that have burst and acceleration, and that's what some of these guys are. Jarquez Hunter, 100%. That's what kind of player he is. Ollie Gordon, I'm not as big of a fan of, but I think that when you've got a running back as big as him, you're going to want to get a look at it, right? Like, you've seen Derrick Henry work, you've seen Najee Harris find some success. Like, you're going to want to take a peek and just be like, hey, would this work? This is a different kind of profile for that position. But I don't know. I mean, would you guys have a problem with them keeping the running back a strength? Because I think that's what they're doing. They're just saying keep a strength to strength.
No issues with that. I mean, I know they had Scatabo, however you want to call the guy.
Yep, Scatabo.
Didn't they? I don't know if they met with him or had an interview with him. I thought there was some sort of.
I thought they talked to him. I don't know if it was an official yet. Yeah, but they did talk to him, I think.
So that's another guy. So I think for sure they're going to go out and probably get one of these guys in the 4th or 5th round of this year. I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't mind that. Like, they still need. We all know Bryce is a smaller QB. Like, they still need a guy who's going to be able to pound it up in there on a 4th and short or a 3rd and short, 4th and inches type situation. So I'm all for that. Like, make a strength to strength. I have no issues with them doing that whatsoever. And I think that is what smart teams do, honestly. So,
I agree. I mean, I think continuing to add to a room that is a strength is a good thing. And talking about like that same area and some of the other people they brought in, like offensive line, they're talking to some offensive linemen. We know that group is complete. But adding depth there and continuing to build on that strength is something that smart teams do. I mean, you have contingency plans for options. And, I talked about it with Alex this week, like what's happening with Taylor Moton on the right tackle. They didn't restructure his contract. Do they love Icky? Do they think that's the future at the left tackle? Adding to a room that, it played well last season, but what does it look like 2, 3, 4 years from now? I think is a smart thing for a franchise to do.
Yeah, it's the different timelines, right? A lot of times we get really short-sighted and we're like, this is what they're doing for this season. Yeah. But Rico Dowdle, he signed, how many years was Rico Dowdle's contract? 1 year?
1.
Yeah, he signed a 1-year contract. We got Jonathan Brooks coming off of his 2nd straight ACL injury. They don't know what that's going to do. But also, even if Jonathan comes back 100%, then you're still looking at, we need a complementary piece for if one of those two go down, or another guy who fits well with those skill sets. It's multiple timelines at once. So, like, fans, it's really easy for us to think about just the season coming up. But there's a whole lot, man, like that goes into that thinking for Dan.
Now, sticking with the offense, I do want to jump back on the wide receiver train a little bit here, because Joe Person put out something this week, I think, in his Athletic article, and it was the first thing that popped out to me, and I knew people would go gonzo over it. A little shocked it didn't take off as much as I thought it would on Twitter, to be totally honest with you. Might have been the wording of how I put it out there, but some of the Panthers organization are intrigued by Tetairoa McMillan. And I said it right. I hesitated for a second and then I went for it. But yeah, so they are interested, or some are intrigued, I should say, by T-Mac within the Panthers organization. And again, I'm going to go back to Bryson on this one. I'm sure this perked your ears up when you saw this. What do you think T-Mac would do for this offense?
He would come in and immediately be the best wide receiver on this team. I don't have any doubts about that whatsoever. I've talked about it before. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a controversial statement. I don't think this room has a lot of high level talent. I think Xavier Legette still has a chance to be a very good wide receiver in this league, and I'm not giving up on him whatsoever. I don't want anyone to, tweet me after this and call me a hater. But Jalen Coker is a good receiver, and really, played well last season. And of course, Adam Thielen, aging but continues to play well. I think Ted McMillan is different, man. I really do. His stock's falling for whatever reason. At least in the media, we don't really know what it is in NFL circles. But I think he's a wide receiver that he brings to the field crisp route running. I think he can win in man to man. He can win deep. He can catch jump balls. I really don't see much weakness in this game, and maybe I'm missing something, or maybe I'm just biased, but I really do think that he is an elite wide receiver talent in this draft. And if I can understand why there are some people in the organization intrigued by him, but I don't know if I really put too much weight into that, because I'm sure they're intrigued by a lot of players in this draft. And I think it makes sense for a team that needs a wide receiver to be intrigued by the best wide receiver in this draft. But I can also see the argument with Matthew Golden. We had Mike Kay on, and he talked about that, and Matthew Golden kind of fitting what they needed more. I mean, Ted McMillan isn't a burner. He's not going to take the top off the defense consistently and get open deep. And I think Matthew Golden does fit more of that role for this offense. But Ted McMillan I feel like, can fill that Mike Evans role that they thought Xavier Legette could. And maybe still can, but I think Ted McMillan comes in and really does it almost immediately.
I got to go to the Wet Bandits here. That's what I'm calling them. I don't know why, but this is the wide receiver crew out of the Panthers fan base. C3 Anthony, Bryson doing God's work for us. Alex, I don't even know why I even tailored to you anymore, but
I got to know, what happened after the filming of that episode. You and Alex did something special together, because I'm talking like honey on a piece of salmon, and he's just a bear.
Let's just say there was a box of donuts involved.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, good for you, boys.
It cannot be talked about live on air, gentlemen. I apologize. DM me if you want details.
I believe it. Yeah, that's probably how it all started, huh?
I will say this. I am intrigued by Tet. I really am. I think, he somewhat resembles like the T. Higgins mold with his height. You get glimpses like, could this guy be the quote unquote number one for Carolina? But then I don't see this organization thinking that wide receiver is the biggest need right now. I don't. I know fans want that, and there's some we all have reservations about where is X going to be this year with his injury, and is he going to take that next step, and how is his wrist? But I truly think this front office really believes in this wide receiver room, which I have my doubts too. I mean, you have an aging Adam Thielen. It's probably his last year in the league. You have a wide receiver who's coming off, 6, 7, 8 drops in the league. You have an undrafted wide receiver that you're banking to take another step as well. And then you have David Moore, who's probably not signed on any other team but the Panthers right now. So I see why fans want to tailor this way. I think this would be a lot easier if you had a wide receiver class like last year. I don't think this class is that, and I don't think any of us believe that, to be honest with you. But there's just question marks on a lot of these guys. I think what lacks currently on the Panthers offense is speed, and Tet doesn't have that. He doesn't have that top end speed, and Carolina really needs that. They really need a guy to take the top off the defense. They need a guy, when he gets the ball in his hands, he can take off. They don't have that right now. If you get Legette in space, he can make that happen, but they haven't been able to scheme that up as of late, because he was thrown into the X position once Deontay Johnson left. He was kind of put in a circle peg in a square hole or whatever the fuck the saying is. But you put in a guy, I felt like that was out of position. So, yeah, I mean, Tet doesn't have that. And then there's other things with him. He didn't run the 40 because clearly he doesn't. He knows that he can't run as fast as most of the guys. It's not going to show up on the chart. You have some other questions about him and I don't put too much stock in this because I've heard other wide receivers. I've heard honestly, other NFL players say this, but he's not a big football guy outside of football. Like he's not watching tape outside of the meeting rooms. I think Carolina would probably not like a guy like that, to be totally honest with you. I can't see Dave Canales him loving that when he heard that, if that came up in a conversation, or Dan Morgan hearing that, because I feel like Dan Morgan was a guy that eats, sleeps football type dude. And Dave Canales, I'm sure, is big on stuff like that as well. So those things I have question marks about in his game. But I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I've seen some stuff. I watched him go toe to toe with Travis Hunter and make some damn good catches when they played against Colorado. I've seen him make plays, and he has improved his yards after catch. I think it was his best year this past year at yards after catch. So he has made improvements, and I know that's kind of all over the place with where he's at, but I don't see it, man. I don't see Carolina wanting to go that route. Ricky, what do you think of Tet? What do you see in him? What do you think of his strengths are, some of his weaknesses, and where you'd see him fit in Carolina?
I like Tet. He's still wide receiver 1 for me in this class. I will say this though, it's not some sort of like landslide runaway for me, and it's not because of Matthew Golden for me either. It's because of Luther Burden. I'm still extremely high on Luther Burden as a prospect. I don't know where the prospect fatigue came from with him. And Tet saw a little bit of that happening to him as well, where when he wasn't taking part in all this stuff and some of these other guys were still playing at the end of the season, some of these other guys were still being talked about more on social media. Here's the thing, dude. Tet has an insane catch radius. He's got sticky mitts. He is a much better route runner for a guy his size than people give him credit for. But I will tell you another thing that is also still like a caveat, right? Like when you say he's a much better route runner for a guy his size, that still doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be this shifty, sudden route runner. That's not who he is. You're not asking him to be that either, though. Like if you're going to put him outside as an X, you're just asking for him to have the wherewithal, the knowledge, the release plan to be able to box out that receiver, to be able to use his leverage, to be able to identify where his leverage is and then get it, right? That is something that Tet can do. I'm not out on Tet by any means. Here's what I'll say, though. I think that all of this is prefaced, and I touched on this a little bit earlier in the episode. All of this is prefaced on how they feel about the room that they have. And it doesn't matter what any of us fans feel about this, man. And that's something that like is difficult, right? It's one of those things in life where you want to be in control of everything, where you're clearly just not. If they feel strongly about their ability to develop Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker both into significant parts of this offense, I don't think that they are interested in allocating a first-round pick on Tet McMillan. I think that they could look at it and say, we go get Isaiah Bond at the end of round 2, beginning of round 3, just as a vertical threat to take the top off. Because you brought up something, Curtis, that I think is one thing that you're going to hear everybody complain about with Tet or ding him for, and that's that vertical speed and the vertical threat that he presents. It's not really his game, and you want it to be his game, but it's not. Yak is more of his game than he gets credit for, which is one of the reasons I do like him more than a lot of people seem to. I don't think he's slow. I don't care that he runs a 4.55. He's 6'5". Like, I don't need him to run a 4.2. Xavier Legette ran a 4.3, right? 4.39 or something like that. Didn't play to it. Matthew Golden, everyone loves him. Matthew Golden's a fine ball player. I have a second round grade on him. I don't think he plays to 4.29. I think he's a terrific wide receiver 2. I think that Tet gives you a possibility as a wide receiver 1. I don't think he's a shoe-in for it personally. But I think that he's a useful NFL player.
And the one thing too, and I know Alex had asked about this, about visits and stuff. we also got to remember there's only been 8 visits reported out of the 30 they can do. So we don't know who else they're bringing in. And I'm sure there are a couple wide receivers going to be on that list. They would be idiotic if there wasn't, to be honest with you. Like there's going to be wideouts brought in. It just hasn't been reported yet. And I get the gripe. I get like Carolina only drafts, second round wide receivers. We also got to remember this is a down year across the board. All the experts, your quote unquote experts that cover this for a living, this is their job. 40-hour work weeks, 50, 60-hour work weeks, focusing in on the draft, says this is a down year for wide receivers. And sometimes you got to believe them because it isn't like this past year or the year before. And if it was, I'm sure Carolina would be right up there on a wide receiver, and New England would be right up there with a wide receiver. That's why New England went in and overpaid for Stephon Diggs coming off an ACL injury. That's why they did it. Because they probably don't think Travis Hunter is going to follow them, and they're not sold on Ted McMillan, and they're not sold on the other guys taking them at 4. So, like, we have to take that into consideration. You don't also want to go out and reach for a guy just because you're thirsty for a wideout. And I love Ted. Like, if that was the pick, I would not be mad at all.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it would be a reach. I do think that's important. I don't think Ted at 8 would be a reach. I think that's a fine pick. Like, I think the talent is there. I just don't know that they want to do that. That's, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it's not even beef with Ted. I like him.
I just think they really like Leggett. I do. And I know there's like, we all have our own doubts about it. And it's justified. It is. But
yeah, he's got the traits. I mean, for sure. And it was a down year, and maybe the unidentified foot injury was nagging, and the wrist was hurting, and he's got an offseason to heal up, and he comes back, and he's got a year in the NFL under his belt, and he is that player that we thought he could be. But on your note about the experts saying it's a down year, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I think that the talent isn't as deep as it has been in past years, but there was an expert that also said that he would retire if Jimmy Clausen wasn't a good quarterback in the NFL. So I think some of those guys,
everyone wants to point to that damn quote. That's the famous quote. But also we got to remember the year when they said it was a down year for quarterbacks, everyone wanted Malik Willis. And where's Malik Willis right now? Like that's the kind of vibe I get sometimes with these push for other positions when there doesn't need to be a push for these other positions. So there's also the other side of the coin there. But I agree. I mean, they no one's perfect. No one's ever going to bat 1,000 at this shit. It's a guessing game. It really is. You never know what these guys are going to come into in the situations that the coaches have. But like, I mean, I see both sides. Like I see your want for a wide receiver. I want like if Ted's the next T. Higgins, send that card in today. Like I want that guy. But like,
yeah.
I see where like I don't think Carolina is high at wideout as the fan base is. Which sucks because I know everyone wants one and everyone wants to make a trade, and I get it. I understand it.
So I wonder who the people in the organization are that are intrigued by Ted, right? Yeah. Like I wonder who that is. That's a piece of information.
I would think the OC. I would think the wide receivers coach, probably.
Possibly.
Head coach?
What if it's Tepper? Like what if it's just David Tepper? What if Tepper is enamored with him? What if he's sitting there looking at him? He's like, hey, I want a point guard that could distribute the ball, and this guy's a power forward. Like, I can John Stockton, Karl Malone this shit all the way to a Lombardi. What if that's what the ball guy upstairs is thinking, right?
Well, son of a bitch, I finally agree with him.
Yeah, see, look at you. Now you're a Tepper apologist. Look at you. I bet you're happy about those price raises, huh?
Yeah, let's transition to that, and then we'll get to this mock draft. Thank you.
Welcome.
David Tepper raises ticket prices by an average of 6%. Are we that shocked? It hasn't impacted my pocketbook because I'm in the upper level and no one gives a shit about us up there. So he hasn't raised prices for the upper level seats, but yeah, I mean, he did it last year, and that was as low gets. So I'm not surprised it's going up again because there was a step up from the year before as far as performance on the field. So I understand people like I would be pretty upset if I was paying, top dollar for some of those lower level seats. And I get it because Carolina is still, 7-8 straight losing seasons or losing records. I understand it. I think it's kind of BS myself, but I'm not surprised at this at all. I know you guys don't have skin in the game, but thoughts on this?
I mean, everything's going up, man. Eggs, fucking stock market's going down.
I thought the eggs were supposed to get cheaper immediately. What happened with the eggs?
Yeah, that was a miss on his part. But yeah, I mean, I think 6%. You know, not. I think for me, in my opinion, the not raising prices on the 500s. I think that is important because those are the people that are. I would argue, are not spending as much money, but they're sitting higher. They're coming to every game, and they're fans that can't really afford the lower level seats, or necessarily not even can't afford, but just aren't in the position to pay for it. And I think not raising on the 500 levels it says something, because he could have easily done that. He could have easily raised every ticket in the building, and he didn't. So. I'm really sounding like a Tepper apologist on this episode, and I know I've kind of defended him a little bit in the past with Curtis, but because he's always been an owner that's not afraid to spend money, and I appreciate it about him because we could be in a Bengals boat, which this offseason's kind of got away from that stereotype with the Bengals, or owners across the league that don't really like to spend money and they're okay with mediocrity, and Tepper has at least been willing to open that checkbook and sign the all-star coaching staff, or spend whatever he needed to spend trying to improve the team, although he stands in his own way 9 times out of 10 doing that. But yeah, I think overall it is what it is. Everything's going up in 6% for the lower level seats. It sucks, but I think fans are willing to pay it because I think people believe in Bryce Young, and I think people believe that this team is heading in the right direction under Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, and I think that fans are excited about the upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Curtis. I don't have any skin in the game. First thing though, I want to bring up here is Alex's comment. Also, no primetime games. Got to make money somehow. I promise you this, man. They're making money. Every single billionaire owner is making money. Any NFL owner is making money. The NFL is a cash cow, and it doesn't take ticket prices to get money in their pockets. And also, David Tepper is a billionaire. I'm not ever going to feel bad for the pockets of a billionaire. But what I'll say about the fans being willing to do it, it sucks, Bryson, in my opinion, because fans don't have a choice. It's not like this isn't like, man, Publix prices have gotten too high. I'm going to Aldi. Fuck it. I'll get my own shopping cart. I'll pay the quarter for a shopping cart, right? That's not the option here. You're talking about an NFL team that you're a fan of, that you love, that's a pastime, that's a hobby. Maybe you bring your family to it. Like, this is part of people's lives. And so, yeah, they're going to stay committed to it. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just this, like, Robin Hood in my head type of guy where I like, hey, for 1 year, Tepper, what if you just took it on the chin? What if until they got a winning record, or until you did something substantial? And look, he did great things for the community last year, so I'd like to give him a lot of credit for that. I think that was awesome and got a little bit of good faith with the fan base. But why not take it on the chin for a year, man? When the rest of these owners are raising their prices, why don't you look like the superhero and be like, I'm not doing that. The product on our field has been trash, and I've been doing that for years. We've got renovations coming up. The city's already paying for half of that. Like, I'm going to let this be for this year. Let's get those renovations in. We get a good football team. We got a beautiful stadium. I'm going to start charging you motherfuckers the VIG. Like, y'all are going to be paying out the ass to come into my playhouse. But for right now, when you go into Ericsson Stadium, I'm going to keep the prices loaded where they are.
All right, we're going to leave it there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back and we will
let me raise an idea to everybody before this commercial break. My allergies are killing me. So I would love to take a shot of whiskey to try to clear out my sinuses. Ooh. If somebody wants to do a super chat, I'll take a shot of whiskey when we get back from this break.
All right.
We're going to leave it there. We'll be back in about 30 seconds, and we got a full 7-round mock draft coming your guys' way. Stick around for that. Exciting news, Panther fans. I'm thrilled to announce our partnership with BetStamp and Sign Up Expert, opening up an incredible opportunity for you to join sportsbooks in your area to get the best odds and new user offers. Head over to our dedicated page at signupexpert.com/Panthers to explore a selection of sportsbooks tailored to your region, each with unique offerings. If you're ready to take sports betting to the next level and show some love to Panthers on Tap, I highly recommend signing up for your next sportsbook through our Sign Up Expert link. And we're still waiting for them to come back. So, again, Ricky put it out there, super chat. If you want to see him take a shot of whiskey, send us a super chat and we'll make that happen. We do have a 7-round mock draft coming up here shortly that we'll get going on. And there's Ricky, and Bryson, I'm sure, will follow here shortly.
Took me a little extra time to get the bottle and the glass out of the cabinet. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. PFF, you want to boot? You want to do PFF?
Yeah, I'll load it right now while we wait on Bryson.
Okay. And Chad, we're gonna do something too here. Let's do. Hold on here, so we can have folks ready to do this, because we're gonna let the chat make a pick in this, and we'll give them time to think about it. And here's Alex. So there you go for whiskey and the Panthers growl sound. Oh yes. Here we go for
You're
whiskey.
asking for too much. That's not even remotely what I said. I'm not
$9.99. So we'll cheers to Alex for that.
Yes,
Thank
we
you,
will.
sir.
Cheers first. Thanks, Alex.
Even
though I'm sure you would much rather this be Bryson. He'd much rather this be Bryson taking this. Oh, look at that. Bryson got one too. What you got there, Bryson?
You take your shot. This is that stuff I regret drinking a long time ago. Threw up in my best friend's dad's car in West Virginia.
Jeez.
I am having a shot of Templeton Rye.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, Templeton Rye. That's from my wife's neck of the woods. That is some good stuff, man.
Templeton Rye is terrific. This is the sherry cask finish, the Oloroso sherry cask finish limited release. It's very nice stuff.
Dang. I got a bottle of Eagle Rare I haven't opened yet.
Oh, I love a good Eagle Rare. See, look, I'm already feeling better. And now Cheshire Cat with the $5 too, man. I love it.
Hey, we didn't get a growl out of you. We need a growl.
Hey, that was damn good.
Wow, we got to cheers to Cheshire Chad as well. $5, man. We appreciate it.
Cheers, Cheshire. Here's to looking up your address.
Woo! Yeah, that whiskey brings back bad memories. Tasting it.
Sounds like a country song. All right, let's do this. All right, so I will share my screen.
We got to set parameters here. Do we want to do so? We haven't done a mock draft yet where we pick. And maybe I think we'll save that. Let's do one where we pick it again, I guess. I think we'll save the prediction for the week of the draft.
I think we need to put a time limit on the picks. I think we need to try to do this similarly to how they're going to be doing it in a war room, right? I think we need to, because we've got our live ticker up here, right? Curtis and Bryson, we can see how long we've been going live.
Yeah, let's do 10 for the first pick.
7.
10 for the first pick, and then 5 for the rest.
7 for the first.
7 and 5. Yeah.
Okay.
You got outvoted.
Yeah.
You're getting off the island, Curtis. All right. My eye is starting to unswell a little bit with my Templeton's Rye, so let's go ahead.
Hold on. No, we're going to give Chad a pick. We're going to give Chad a pick. So let's decide what pick we're going to give them. And you are. Oh God. There they are.
Oh no, I just ran it so that it's just the beginning. We're okay.
Do we want to give them? Let's give them either pick 74 or 111. What do you guys think?
Goodness gracious, 111.
111.
Giving up my 3rd round pick.
All right, chat. So you guys are going to pick 111 for us. We will, once we get to 111, we will discuss what we would do, and then you guys let us know what you guys would do with pick 111. We're going to let you guys pick that once we get there. But all right, let's start the timer right now. So 15.
Did we hold on? Did we talk about James Cody's comment here?
I don't believe so.
Before we start, I want to make sure we acknowledge this guy because this is awesome. James Cody says, hi, guys. Just want to say thank you for doing what you guys do. Never caught you guys live before, but I'm glad I did tonight. Cheers, guys. Hey, appreciate you, James. That's awesome, man.
Cheers,
thank you,
man.
dude.
Cheers,
hope you're still sticking around so that you can watch this and be involved in that, making that pick at 111 for us.
So we are going to start right now, 16:20.
Do you still have that noise up? Did I still have that thing in here?
I got it.
You got it?
You ready?
Perfect.
Are you ready?
Go for it.
And the Carolina Panthers are on the clock.
I didn't hear that. I don't know what you were doing there.
Now, wait a second. Don't we have the actual thing? Hold on. Give me a second. Yeah, there we go.
There it is.
There we
Your team is now on the clock.
Your team. All right. We're picking for your team.
Well, don't keep going. Now he's got it on repeat. Hey, guys, this is what live TV is, right? James Cody, this is what you asked for, brother.
All right, we're going to start it at 17. So we got 17, and then we'll go to 1.
He is
All right.
milking that 7 minutes. All right.
Yes, he is.
All right. We got Ted McMillan still available on the board. Boys, let's send it in. We don't got to think about this. That's the pick.
So, wow, Genty went to 4. That would never happen in real life.
Genty to 4, Mason Graham, Jade Barron. That's a guy that I'm a fan of too. And Abdul, we missed Abdul by a pick.
Oh, that's tough.
That stings the nostrils, just like a Templeton Dry. Okay, so look, we've got here would be my thought process. I know a lot of people like Tyler Warren. I know we took him in our last one. I'm out on Tyler Warren that high. I just don't want to do that. Ted McMillan, Malachi Starks, Jahad Campbell, and then probably James Pierce and Will Johnson would be the ones that I would look at the most here. But I know how much Bryson likes Tet. I don't have an issue with Tet at 8, and I think that it can set up an interesting exercise of what else do you do? Now, do you want to look at the 2 trade offers?
Yeah, let's look at the trades.
Yeah, I do.
Let's look at the trades.
So you got the Bengals offering to get up to 8. I know we can get 17 and 49 from them. I've done this enough times. The other pick is the Chargers at 22. So that's 22 and 55.
Too rich for me.
I'm out on 22.
Now, what you could do with 22 and 55, and here's what I've done in the past: make them give you the first rounder next year. You know. Now, look, it doesn't help our mock.
That ain't happening.
It will though. There's actually guidelines that you can get that. People.
Well, I'm just saying in real life that ain't happening. They're not.
I think
doing
it might. I've seen it before. But okay. So look, let's look at the Bengals. We know they want to move up, right? They need cost controlled moves here. So they're going to be willing sellers or willing buyers. They are very motivated to do it. Correct.
Can we get that first next year too, from the Bengals?
Well, let's just see what they would say. This trade will not be accepted. I'm going to offer it to them though. No, they won't do it. But
next year,
the second has a good chance. They're desperate right now. Should we offer it to them?
17 though. 17 is far back. I don't even know if Matthew Golden's going to be available then.
You've been tainted. You are on a wide receiver only move right now, aren't you? I can hear it in your voice.
Let's see what they go with let me see what they do with a third.
Well, no, we haven't even offered the second first.
No, I know, but I just want to see the odds of it. That's all. I just want to see like the green little bar. Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They'd gladly give that up, but I don't think that that's a realistic thing that a team will do.
Okay.
Yeah,
I hate to add 3 picks this year for one, just because I don't see that. But for the sake of saying, hey, look, we're going to try to do this in a way to get as much as we can, add that second rounder on there, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize you did it.
I mean, do y'all want to do this, or do you want to take Ted at 8 though? Because that's the other thing.
Yeah,
Bryson really likes Ted at 8.
We got 4 minutes left. Are we willing to move back to 17, not know who's on the board, and potentially just be taking someone to take them that we're not in love with? And we know Tet is the best wide receiver in this draft available. He's bringing talent to that wide receiver room that's desperately needed. I don't know if I'm trading back just to trade back at this spot. I think Tet is there, and that's my pick. I'm taking Tet over a trade back in this spot.
So what I would say,
I prefer because we still can get a wideout, I think, at 17, and we also can get a decent edge player at 49, or if we trade.
We can look. We can get 17 and 49 in round 2 next year, and what you do is you're going to have people available at 17. I'm going to tell you right now, Luther Burden's going to be there. I'm going to tell you right now, Malachi Starks will be there. James Pierce will probably be there. There's a outside chance your boy Mike Green is there at 17. And then what you do is you take 49 and the Johnny Mingo pick or 111, and you move back up to like 32, 33, and you take Jaden Higgins. You want a big X receiver. You want a guy that can separate. You want a versatile piece that has just as great of a ceiling as Tet McMillan. Jaden Higgins is your guy. So that would be my thing.
What if we don't do a trade this time around? We did a trade last time.
All right, you want to do Tet McMillan then? Because that would be the pick. I don't think you're getting Bryson off of Tet. If we're going 8, you're taking
I'm fine
Tet.
with that, just to see how it shakes out.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Oh, I love it. Oh, my God, I love it.
It's Bryson's day.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's look here. After us, Will Campbell, Tyler Warren, Will Johnson.
Went 12.
Went 12. Campbell went 13. Michael went 15. Ezraku 16. That's one of my guys. There's Shamar at 17. Mike Green at 19. So Mike Green would have been available.
Jalen Walker would have been available.
Malachi Starks would have been available. Igbuka, Luther Burden would have been available.
James Pierce.
I mean,
so who's left at edge? That's where we're going.
Y'all have better
This is
hope
non-negotiable. Non-negotiable at edge.
I think it is negotiable.
Definitely negotiable. Definitely.
It's got to be negotiable because Jack Sawyer and Kyle Kennard, I don't really want to take them here. Josiah Stewart. I like Josiah Stewart. I think you could possibly get Josiah Stewart at 74.
Camion Rucker.
Well, let me look at the inside defenders.
D-line or edge needs probably the pick.
Look at safeties.
Y'all fucked up.
Yeah, this is Bryson wanted Tet. Don't tell me we fuck.
You're the one who started though. Maybe we don't trade this time.
Well,
Bryson
I wanted to change it up.
Bryson was into it, man.
I was going to concede. It was 2v1. I was going to concede, and then you switched up.
He was playing the diplomatic game, and then Curtis came in here and was like, "Hey, I'm newsman. I'm going to call this thing."
You know, I don't want Tet at 8. That's damn clear.
All right, so there's other options too. Mason Taylor, tight end. I think that he's an appealing option. I'm higher on Terrence Ferguson. Actually, I have him as my third tight end. Look, these guys like Jordan Phillips and Josh Farmer. I'm intrigued by them, and I think that they offer stuff, but I don't know that you're going to take them this early.
And what about this Demetrius Knight? I don't know anything about Demetrius.
Yeah, no,
we could have got Jalen. We could have got Jalen Noel at his pick.
We can still get Jalen Noel at 74 in this simulator. In real life, I'm not sure that you're going to get Jalen Noel at 74.
You might not get him at 57.
All right, so where are we at right now? Where are we at clockwise? Anybody clock watching for us here?
We've probably been up for about two.
I think 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay, so we got 2 more minutes. At 126, we're cutting this thing off, or somebody else is jumping us.
Tell us about Demetrius Knight real quick.
He's a good ball player. He started at Georgia Tech, went to Charlotte, actually, and then finished his career at South Carolina. Physical thumper, 6'2", 245. Good frame. I think that the thing with him is going to be his age. First of all, he's going to be around 25 years old, I think, during his rookie season. So that scares people a little bit. Coverage skills aren't necessarily his best thing, but he's got it. He's had an interception, pick 6 for a touchdown. He's a pretty good football player, man. I don't know. Is Carson Schwessinger gone? Let me look at this.
Is Landon Jackson gone too?
I think he is.
Linebacker. So you still got Pooh Paul Jr. there. I'm still a fan of Danny Stutzman, Teddy Buchanan. I mean, I like some of the older guys. If you miss out on Jahad Campbell, Jalen Walker, and Carson Schwessinger, I typically think that this is a situation where you wait. You were looking for Landon Jackson. Yeah, he's gone. If I were going to go an edge here, it's Josiah Stewart for me. This is the guy I was telling you about as far as if you like Jalen Walker, how you don't like him doesn't make any sense to me. 22 years old at the start of the season. I think that this is, again, a guy who's going to be able to bring you that juice off of the edge. I think he fits well. Think Nolan Smith, if you will, with the Eagles type of usage. I think he has a very similar profile and usage as Nolan Smith.
Now, what don't you like about Jack Sawyer?
Well, first, I don't think he fits at all with what we're going to do. Yeah. Well, and even then, he doesn't have an explosive get off on the line of scrimmage. He's got short arms, and I'm not trying to be like arm snob about that, but he plays like it too. He's a little bit older. Him and JT Tuamalo for Ohio State benefited greatly from the fact that they had each other on the opposite side. He doesn't have that when he comes here to Carolina. If you're looking for him to be Aiden Hutchinson just because he's, a white pass rusher from the outside with an attitude, he ain't going to be Aiden Hutchinson, man. The athleticism is not there for Jack Sawyer. I think he's a really fine player in the third round. I would pass on him here, personally.
I like Stewart. I've heard some good things about him. I think that's who we pick here.
Yep. We got like 30 seconds left. I think Josiah Stewart is the pick.
We like it?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's go for it. Okay.
So just so chat knows, the next pick, you guys are going to decide it. So start thinking on what you do at 111. And we can kind of make this big screen too here so they can kind of see a little bit more.
Travion Henderson would have been fun too. He went right after us.
All right. Can you pull safeties back up for me?
Yeah, I want to see safeties, corners too.
Yeah. Makuba's still there.
Yep, I like Makuba there. That's a good pick, I think.
Ooh, well,
it's my guy. Y'all know how I feel about him, but I know
I
y'all
don't want to Parrish.
Not this early, but
Curtis doesn't like nice things.
Parrish is intriguing, but I wouldn't say this early.
I like Makuba for the need. I think they need to get a safety in this draft.
Look at interior defensive lineman for me.
Still Joshua Farmer, still Jordan Phillips. Now, I'll tell you an interesting thing Canales mentioned the other day. He said something about, like, we have a specific fit. Like, this nose tackle, we need to do these things, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he said that in an interview. I believe it was with Anish, where he was talking about it.
Yep.
And there are specific things, especially in, like, a Fangio system, that nose tackles need. You need a really thick bottom half with a strong anchor, really heavy hands and pop, and get off to get right underneath the chin of a center. I mean, that is literally what you want them to be able to do. Jordan Phillips matches that to a T, like to a T. Deion Walker, that everyone loves so much from Kentucky, doesn't fit that even remotely. That dude has some of the worst leverage issues I've ever seen. His body, his composition of his body, he's very top heavy, very, very small in the bottom half. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But if you want to talk about in the nose right there, those two guys definitely, Joshua Farmer, Jordan Phillips, but Phillips especially fit.
Deion Walker has a 30 visit with Carolina. Just so we're aware.
I hate that. I'm sorry. I'm going to sound like a hater here, but I absolutely hate that. So look,
I like Farmer and I like Makuba.
Linebacker. Look at linebacker for me.
Yeah, let's look at linebacker. I think that linebacker, though, I think that we've gotten to the point. So you could get Pooh Paul Jr. here. Pooh is his nickname. Chris Paul Jr. Good ball player right here. The other thing that I would look at, too, though, is if they're high on Trevin Wallace, they're not going to grab another linebacker in the third because this guy isn't going to push for that starting job. Either it's going to be Christian Roseboom or it's going to be Trevin at this point. If you could get a guy in the first round, I think you absolutely are open to that, right, if you love one of those guys.
Yeah.
But I don't see this being a smart move from a roster building standpoint.
My favorite pick that we've mentioned so far is Makuba. I think that's –
all right, let's do Andrew Makuba. Let's go for it. All right, boys.
All right, so this is the chat. So chat, let us know what you guys are thinking. So the pick we have
02
Tet McMillan. We have
now look here. We'll do this first. Here's the picks that we have on the board. Chat. We have Tet McMillan first, Josiah Stewart, edge rusher. And then Andrew Makuba, who is going to play that weak side safety. So if you were to look at, does it have our team needs still up here? Team needs, it still has wide receiver, edge, DB. That was before the draft. We pretty much went in that exact rotation there of what to do. If there are positions that you want to see, chat, we can wait a second. He says, what about right tackle options? All right, Z Nature, let me pull up the tackles. We'll give you a couple minutes.
Bo out there? Is the Bo guy out there? Probably not.
No, Bo's gone. Bo went in the second round.
Yeah.
So these are your tackle options. This is probably your most natural right tackle here is Brandon Crenshaw Dixon. He's a 4-year starter. He's played a lot of football. He's very smart. I think he's more of a technical artist than he is like a behemoth of an athlete. Chase Lunt is a very light-footed. He's a thinner frame, super tall, 6'8", 305 out of Connecticut.
Cat's blowing up with the interior D line.
Interior D line. All right, let's look at it. Let me look at it.
Peebles is there.
And so is Jamari Caldwell and JJ Pegues. So, like, there's different ways to look at this. If you're looking for a run stuffer, these two right here. And Jamari, I think, is going to offer some pass rush in the NFL. I think he's a really intriguing person. Peebles is what you signed Tershawn Wharton to be is what Anais Peebles was. Yeah. No, he's legitimate, man. This dude is a absolute monster from a pass rusher from the interior. And what he would fit is, when we run under fronts, under Evero. That's where the weak side guard is covered. Anais Peebles would be on that other side where he would be pass rushing closest to his edge rusher. So he would be the guy on that. And in a nickel, he could be in the two-man front with probably Derek Brown, who can occupy the 2 gap and give him a 1 gap responsibility and get after.
Is O2 there? Is O2 out there still?
I think he got drafted.
Let's see. Nope, but he's right there.
Nope, he's there. Wow.
Femi Oladejo.
We're not making the picks, but I'm just throwing that out there.
All right, so chat, let's look at the clock here. Hold on. We're at 1:32:30. We're going to give you until 1:34:30, so there's 2 minutes. We're going to start taking votes right now, and I'm getting some balloons going here. Yeah,
we have 4. I think we have 4 or 5 for Peebles right now.
All right, do me a favor, though. We're going to start right now. We're going to go through and look at these. Give me one name. Don't give 2 or 3 names. Give one name because we're going to count these up, and the one that has the most votes, we're taking.
Peebles, O2.
So we have 1 for Peebles up here. Are we starting at Chris Dillard, guys?
Yeah, Chris Dillard. Okay.
And then we got a 2. So, hey, Nate Bazin, give us one of those 2 because you had 2 up there first. So give us 1. Zachary East Peebles, so that's 2 for Peebles. James Cody likes Harold Fannin Jr. Interesting. 3 for Peebles, Dalton Hampton. The Atlanta boy, Chase Lunt. Nice, man. Good for you. I'm glad that you know about him. Would have gone Sanker if not for the Makuba pick. Zachary East, a man after my own heart. You I'm a Sanker fan. See, Peebles, Olafeo, Nate Bazin, man, cut it down to 1, bro. You gave me 2 last time. Now you gave me 3.
Fannon's picking up some votes here.
O2, O2's getting
Peebles,
there too.
Fannin, Caldwell, Fannin, Gannon. I'm assuming.
All right, we got about 30 seconds here.
I think.
Come on, chat. Throw it in there. Peebles is in the lead right now, chat.
Peebles is in the lead right now.
If you got
a minute, you got about 45 seconds, chat. Peebles is up by
super chat. You might get 3 votes. Super chat.
Yeah, if you super chat it counts for double for sure. A good enough super chat. I might just let you pick it.
Once this clock hits 1:35, we're making a pick. Right now, Peebles is.
And the clock for everyone to know, we're 45 seconds away. Oh,
45 seconds
there's
away.
Another one for Fannin. That's only 1 for Fannin. That's the same guy twice. Don't try to get over on me. Borregales.
Yeah.
Hey, Dalton, send in that super chat. We'll draft Andres Borregales.
No, we're not. That's getting a veto.
Oh, I will do it. He can't veto me. I'm the one screen sharing. I'll do whatever I want to, Dalton.
I support it.
And Bryson supports it. That's what really matters.
Yeah. All right, so Peebles so far is the leader.
Peebles and Fannin are really close.
15 seconds left.
Oladejo's got to have at least 2 or 3, right?
I think that's 3. I think that's 3. We're tied right now.
All right, it's Peebles.
Come on, chat.
What it is?
One more.
Peebles is at 5. I think it's
between O2 and Peebles. One more person. Come on, decide. Hurry up, chat.
The pick's already in. They're on to the Saints.
Fuck the Saints. They don't have no cap room anyways.
Looks like we're going Peebles.
All right, a nice
draft the Bruin. Carter said draft the Bruin.
Draft the Bruin.
That's O2.
That's O2, guys. I mean,
no, I think Peebles had like 7 votes.
Peebles.
All right,
yeah,
Peebles. It is.
Peebles.
The people spoke. The people spoke. If you know what I mean.
So we're back on the clock. We get
no nothing. I don't get any kind of love for that. The people spoke. Come on, God damn it, that was good comedy. God.
I honestly did not hear that. So,
well, hey, look, here's the cool thing, guys.
Let's see.
Here's the cool thing, guys. O2 is sitting right there for us, just to let you know.
I think we got to take it. I think we got to take 0-2.
Tight end. There's not a tight end in this group right here that I would take right here.
Not a fan. Corner.
Oh, now you want to look at corner. Noah Williams is the guy that I like there. Quincy Riley has a 30 with the Panthers.
Riley. I don't think he's going to be around this late. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I do. I think that some of these 30s they're doing are not meant to be high picks. Some of these are guys that they're getting familiar with because they know they have this bucket of picks here. 111, 114, 140, 146, 163. They are trying to get a really inside look.
What about running back?
Group.
Ooh.
At this point.
Please be there, Cam. Please be there, Cam. No.
Jaden Blue ran a.
We know. Yeah, I love Jaden Blue.
Didn't he run a really good 40 today?
He did.
Yesterday?
He did.
Yeah.
Yep. I really believe he ran in the 4.3s. I love him. I'm a fan of Jaden Blue. I think he fits well from a complimentary standpoint. Is that earlier than they want to go? Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is another guy. He didn't play but one game and got injured in it this past season, but his 2023 tape is fantastic. I think that he's a guy they could have some serious interest in. Bashul Tootin, I like a ton. I hate his fumble problems. This guy fumbles the ball like he gets paid to do it. Like he has an NIL deal with the ground because he just keeps giving the ball to it. The other, look, 0-2 is really appealing there. Jamari Caldwell is also there. Q Robinson out of Alabama. This is another guy, physical specimen, slender. You talk about get off, he's got it. Not a ton of playing experience. He did not get a ton of reps.
Offensive tackle? It's another spot I think they could go, or we could go.
Yeah, Logan Brown is Brandon Crenshaw Dixon still is your most natural right tackle in that top part. Logan Brown has gained some steam after his combine. This is also a right tackle, 6'6", 315. I think he weighed in at like 318 or something. 315. I believe he's 22 years old. So he's got some youth to him. I think that he could make some sense if you're looking for a developmental guy who's also going to sit, obviously, behind Taylor Moton, assuming that he's still on the roster. He's an intriguing player.
I kind of like that Florida guy. I think sitting behind Moton for the year, that could be beneficial. And he's played. Hasn't he played both sides? He played left tackle.
He did. Yep. In his career, that's where he started. And then he shifted over to right tackle. But I think that his elite or his lack of elite athleticism is going to keep him on the right side. I don't think there's any way you put him on the blind side. He doesn't have super fast feet.
But he's got that versatility at least.
He does. Experience. Yep. Jalen Rivers is another guy. I think that he played predominantly left tackle, but he was a really high school recruit. Had a really nice Senior Bowl week. Decent ball player. I don't know that any of them move me the way that 0-2 would probably.
Yeah,
move
0-2. Yeah, I agree. 0-2. I love him.
The only other people that I would bring up too, like Barron Sorrell out of Texas, he fits the physical profile. I don't think that he has a great get off. I don't think he has a ton of bend, so he's not my cup of tea necessarily. Noah Williams, I do think when you talk about corner, this is the kind of guy that I think Evero would like a whole lot. Really
and
smart.
Nickel or
no, as
Jackson.
a boundary, okay. Yeah. Because look, dude, think about this too. Outside of J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson, who do you have on the boundary? You got the guys that we signed for depth last season. Like, you know what I mean?
In the Atlanta game and got cooked.
That's right. And so I don't want to put anything bad into the universe at all, right?
I don't mind
J.C.
Horn here.
But J.C. Horn had one season recently of staying healthy for the duration of that season. Before that, he missed a lot. So you could be looking at a Caleb Evans and Mike Jackson as your 1 and 2 in the season if you don't draft somebody that you feel comfortable being able to slide in.
Well, yeah, let's look at corner for a second. But I also think
where are we at on this clock? We've gone way over. The Cardinals are
biting absolutely. Yeah, we missed our pick. We gotta go.
I like Quincy Riley if we can get him in the next pick, and I think he'd still be there.
What do you like about Quincy though?
I mean, the guy can he can. I think he can play in zone, and I think that's what they run a lot. And I think that gives. I know he's a little bit smaller, and that might not fit Evero's threshold, but I do think he can give some verse, and I think he can push Smith-Wade. I do. I don't know.
Someone in the chat was telling us that Noah Williams had 7 interceptions.
Yeah, no, Noah Williams is exactly what you talk about when you say take the ball away, playmaker.
Yeah.
It's Noah Williams. And Noah Williams, but that's not even my favorite part about that's not even his size. His size is 6'1", 200.
Oh.
He's strong. He's strong.
Okay.
But that's not even my favorite thing about Noah. His football IQ is ridiculous. His innate awareness, like his feel on the field, is just one of those things that when you watch him, man, he just understands the game. He can see, he can key in. And this is a huge thing for secondary in a Fangio type system. Keying in on routes and reads is a huge part of it, man. Like they're blessed to have the athleticism of Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, but also what they loved about them was their ability to key. And
all right, we're over the time.
Really well.
You're selling us on Williams. Why don't we just make the pick?
Do y'all want to do Williams?
Or we do
or
0-2?
Or 0-2.
0-2.
Just do 0-2. 0-2. Do
0-2.
0-2. Do 0-2.
Williams might be there.
He won't be because he's too good for us. See,
Ah.
but Quincy Riley is there, and that is who Curtis wanted. And they have a 30.
He is undersized. I get that. I understand that.
He's thin. He's got height. His arms aren't proportionately long for his height. If I remember correctly, I'd have to look at my sheet real quick. Let me do that. Y'all talk for a second.
Yeah, I'd like to see again who's available in this round. Running back for sure. Potentially tight end. You know, we haven't gone there yet. They brought back Trimble.
Alex isn't set with Ted. We give him Ted, and he's still crying.
Yeah, so Quincy Riley has 31-inch arms on a 6'1" frame. So proportionately, that's not outstanding. And I only bring that up because I think that it shows up sometimes. He's pretty sticky in coverage. He can stay close to you, but he doesn't have a whole lot of that finishing because of his arm length. And he, with his slight frame, he can absolutely be moved off of his spot by a physical receiver. All right, so what were y'all saying you wanted to look at?
Check out running back and then tight end too. We haven't touched tight end, and I think that needs to be looked at.
So this running back right here is one of Brashard Smith is one of Aaron Duncan, who is the Unnecessary Bluntness on X. Absolutely fantastic content creator. He is enamored with Brashard Smith. He's a big fan of him. Brashard was a former wide receiver converted to running back. This was his first season in that role. Think Tyrone Tracy at Purdue the year prior, and he was the Giants running back that shredded the Panthers in Germany. So obviously he's got good route running and good hands out of the backfield, but he also
doesn't have that.
Say what?
Dowdle doesn't have that. Brooks doesn't have that.
No. Brooks has good hands. Brooks isn't a route runner. Like Christian McCaffrey ran routes out of the backfield. Brashard Smith was a wide receiver. He runs routes out of the backfield. He also is the breakaway speed. He had, I think, like the 11th fastest GPS timed run in college football last year. I believe I shared that clip on Twitter at some point. But then you still have this Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who I'm a fan of. Down further, you got Taj Brooks. Ollie Gordon is someone that we have had in. LaQuint Allen is a pass-catching specialist on a third down.
That Auburn guy is still there, too, that they brought in.
Yep, Jarquez Hunter. A very productive back. He's had a ton of touches. I mean, he's had over
Cameron Allen Payne.
500 touches. Right, Cameron Artis Payne.
Oh, Artis, yeah. Cameron Artis Payne,
yeah.
my bad. Yeah.
No, it's all good, man. We've been
What's
drinking.
the tight ends looking at?
Oh, yeah, let's look at that. And then we need to make a pick because we're running out of time. We were doing so good by being professional for like one pick. Again, it doesn't move me, man. I will say this. I'll say this with the tight ends, man. I don't know that Oronde Gadsden lasts as far as he does in these simulators, but this is my target. If you miss out on the Mason Taylors, the Terrence Fergusons in that second round, if you don't go Loveland or Warren early, this is my guy. I've shared some clips on him too. I've talked about him for a while. He's an oversized receiver, essentially. His route running is fantastic. He's got good size, got good length. He's a what is the bargain store, the 5 degrees below or whatever it is, 5 below that you get like the bargain bins. He's the Kyle Pitts 5 below. He's the 5 below Kyle Pitts. Like that's what he is. He's a little bit shorter arms, not as dynamic after the catch, but that's a pretty good football player, man. I like Arondre Gadsden a lot.
What about O'Donnell Fortune out of South Carolina?
South Carolina.
Is he there?
He is. You like him too, huh? You like these thin guys, man.
No, I was just reading some stuff about him, and it kind of fits what Evero does. That's why I don't know a ton about him. I just was just reading some shit about him, and I'm like, oh.
Well, they were at this SC Pro Day. So when there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe they liked him.
It's up to you guys.
But you also like Quincy Riley. I'm gonna let you guys make this pick, man. I'm just sitting here drinking.
I think I would be okay with Quincy Riley at this spot. I really would, and I know Curtis really hasn't gotten a player.
Want to hit guys yet?
Yeah.
No, we got O2. I like O2.
So you want Quincy Riley or you want O'Donnell Fortune, Curtis? Which one do you want?
I don't know a ton about Fortune. I literally just reading some stuff, and it kind of lines up with Evero wants. Let's go Riley.
Okay. Quincy Riley. Yeah, Quincy Riley had a nice Senior Bowl for what it's worth. I mean, like, Quincy Riley's not a bad player, dude. Please don't take, like, any of the criticism that I'll say on any of this stuff. It's simply from, like, having to find things that players don't do as well as what they do well, right? It is not a condemnation or an indictment on them. It's just saying, here are things that I saw that left me wanting more. Right. But his athleticism and his recovery speed, his long speed instincts, Quincy Riley has that. I just don't know that he's going to be the starter on the boundary. And I don't know that he has the lateral ability inside.
I think at this point we're looking at depth, and that's where I'm looking at it. But I also take you with a grain of salt. You like Jalen Polk. So just kidding.
That is true. That is true. And I still like him. And you're gonna fucking regret saying that, bud.
Now I feel like I've watched Notre Dame and I've seen Mitchell Evans kind of pop when I've seen Notre Dame play. So tell us a little bit about Mitchell Evans.
Mitchell Evans is super limited athletically. I think that he's a smart player. I think that he took advantage of his size in college. I think that Notre Dame, Riley Leonard was not much of a field stretcher by nature.
Yeah.
I think that Mitchell Evans benefited from that. You could see that he had, where's his stats? You can see that he had his best statistical year by far, as far as catches, tied or touchdowns. But look at the yards per reception, far down under with Riley Leonard. He was more of a safety valve, and that's why he saw more action. They also saw a lot more heavy coverage against the run with Jordan Love, terrific running back there at Notre Dame. Yeah. I don't hate Mitchell Evans, but there's no way that I would go Mitchell Evans personally over Arondre Gadsden. Mitchell Evans, what you would look at for him is potentially the ability to block in line. But if you're looking strictly for an inline blocker, let's see if Jackson Hawes is still there. Jackson Hawes is still there. If you're looking simply for an inline blocker, this is the best inline blocker in the tight end group. Doesn't offer a whole ton as far as the catch. Now, Jake Briningstool probably has some of the best catch point work of the tight ends. Thomas Fedone is a tall guy as well. But if you're throwing a dart at any of these tight ends, just for me personally, it's Arondre Gadsden, and I'll keep banging that drum.
I think we look at back. I think it might be Ollie Gordon time, unless you think we get a better.
I don't know this early.
Unless he's gone.
Oh, he's right there.
7.
Oh, he's there. I think we got to address back at some point. What do we?
Trevor Etienne's there.
Who do we have pick wise? Tet, Josiah Stewart, Andrew Makuba, Aeneas Peebles, O2, Quincy Riley.
We don't have
so
a linebacker. Stands out
to me. You don't have a linebacker, you don't have offensive tackle, and you don't have running back would be the things that stand out to me.
The 3, yeah.
Chase Lunt's still there.
But I mean, most of those offensive linemen are there that we looked at 6 rounds ago.
Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing too. Linebacker at this point, you're likely not getting a starter, so you need a guy that could play special teams. Mm-hmm. The guy that I have been high on previously, Smile Mondon out of Georgia. That's a guy that you could get likely in that 7th round at 230. I would take a gander at him. I would take a peek at linebacker probably at that point as opposed to now. I'm not sure let's see if like Danny Stutzman's still there. Possibly. Danny Stutzman's incredibly limited as far as coverage. Where is the linebacker? I'm just sitting here fucking going back and forth. Now, this player is interesting. Cody Simon. This is a really good blitzing linebacker, like really good blitzing. I believe he had like 6 or 7 sacks last year. They don't show it on PFF, but this dude gets after the quarterback. He's a little bit undersized, like the pants. He's got him at 6'2", 235. I think at the combine he weighed at 225. Playing weight's probably closer to 230. Absolutely could see him if you're looking for that hybrid or you're looking for that blitzing linebacker, which we were awful at. We were absolutely terrible blitzing our linebackers last year. And you're going to have to do that if you're not getting front pressure. We hope Josiah Stewart kind of like enables that a little bit for us. But otherwise, you're going to keep on sending that Sam linebacker. Cody Simon could fit that billing, to be completely honest. Like, that's a linebacker that could 100% make sense for this team, in my opinion.
My vote's running back, but it's all right.
Let's look at running back again.
I think all right, remember, keep in mind something real quick, and then we're going to take a pick in the next 30 seconds. We're at pick 146 right now. We have pick 163.
Yeah.
All of these running backs are not going to be gone in the next 18 picks.
We can get Ollie Gordon at 230, possibly.
We can, yeah. I think that Cody Simon, on the other hand, potentially could be gone at 163.
What about Stutzman?
He's so bad in coverage, man. He's so bad in coverage. I mean, like, so bad. I love Danny Stutzman. I love Danny. He's a wild boy.
That's why I brought him up.
Yeah, no, I like him, man. He's a wild boy. But when I think about like what they're going to need, what they need from a blitzing linebacker, it's just not his game, man. Like Teddy Buchanan would be a better pick. Jamon Dumas-Johnson won a championship with Georgia, then transferred over to Kentucky. Talk about an athlete. He's it. Smile,
Weren't you high
Mondon.
on Jay Higgins?
Say what?
Weren't you high on Jay Higgins at one point?
I'm higher than consensus on Jay Higgins, but then all of a sudden people started about Jay Higgins like being like this like top 15, top 10 linebacker. I'm not there with him. Like he's got some limitations, man.
All right,
like,
our pick is in. Let's make one here.
Cody Simon.
We'll do Cody Simon.
Okay.
And then it's time.
And then you want to run it.
Ooh,
I know.
that tight end from Clemson still there.
Ollie Gordon. Send it in.
All right. You want Ollie Gordon? It's your funeral.
Let's do it.
And then let's take Borregales at the last pick.
Well, hold on now. Hold on now. Yeah. The things.
Got to get a kicker, man. Got to get a kicker.
Or we can go undrafted. We don't have to take him. We took him in, I think, every one of our drafts.
We do have to take Borregales. You're not getting him undrafted in Carolina.
Take a Rondé Gadsden still there too, though.
Ooh.
And RJ Mickens. RJ Mickens is also really good
to push Plummer.
RJ Mickens is also a really good. This is a really good safety too, man. You get him that late. That's a really good pick too. What did you say? No, I missed it. What did he fucking say?
He said you could get Graham Mertz to push Plummer. Curtis knows how bad he is. Oh,
yeah, Graham Mertz is terrible.
Yeah, he's awful.
There is the option too, though, man. Like, remember?
Oh, I like Ty Robinson. I like that guy. I think he's got a motor, man. I know he's a Matt Rule dude, but
the other option though, Johnny Walker Jr. Man, I love Johnny Walker, and not just the booze. I am big on Johnny Walker, dude.
Doug is calling you out, Ricky.
What did he say? What did Doug say?
Ricky,
you don't like Ollie Gordon? I'm not a huge Ollie Gordon guy. Nah, man. And that's not me hating him. That's me saying that, like, I think that a lot of people that expect him to be Derrick Henry because of his size, there are some ridiculously different elements to their abilities, in my opinion. Ollie Gordon's a little bit stiff, a little bit upright, and a little bit tight-hipped, which, yeah, you expect that when a guy's that high cut and he's large, right? But he moves like it too for me. And I think he's got slow feet. I think his 40 time is indicative of his slow feet. I don't know. I think he's a fine back if you want to take him, but not my cup of tea personally.
What about wideout? Let's look back at wideout quick. I know it's late in the 7th round, but just to see who's still out there.
Well, you could get some speed guys if you want to. The Colorado guys here, LeJontay Wester, Will Shepard. Theo Weiss was the tall guy that played predominantly X for Missouri. Okay guy, but not somebody that I would look at. If you're going to look at receiver here, you need to be having somebody that's going to be playing
Moose
special
Muhammad. Send it in.
teams.
I'm just kidding.
Arian Smith is a vertical threat. People will joke about it, can't catch for shit, but he's faster than hell.
I don't mind that tight end, Ricky, you mentioned. I think that might be
Arondé Gadsden. Yeah, I would love it. The only other thing to consider here is that the safety position, even if you have Andrew Makuba right, you're still talking about having 3 safeties on the roster. Maybe you sign one of these other guys, but maybe you also only sign a depth signing. If Makuba is hurt or injured or anything like that, having a guy like a Malachi Moore or a Craig Woodson are 2 guys that I also really like. Having a backup like that, RJ Mickens is another one. It's not the worst thing, but do you really want 2 rookies in that room kind of like pushing each other? You know what I mean? That would be the question. But I like Gadsden.
Wooler. I think Wooler could be a flyer too.
He's more of a strong up close in the box type safety than he is center fielder. But you know what? You still need a backup for Mary.
That gives you a backup. Exactly.
Right. And I think that they could play special teams. I also think Cody Simon here. I know that he's a 5th round pick, but Cody Simon and Quincy Riley could both play special teams as well, in my opinion. So I don't want to like sit here and say that we just have to go special teams here at pick 7. I would go Gadsden personally. I've been talking about him since round 4.
Yeah,
Let's do it. Send it in.
There you go.
And then we hope we get Borgales.
And he's a mismatch type of opportunity, man. Like you got to enjoy that, you know.
Ugh. They always hate our picks, don't they?
A+.
Look at who they really hated, Curtis.
A+ on my pick,
They
Curtis.
really hated. A+ on look at you, and B- on mine.
Dude, we're talking PFF here, guys. Let's come on. What did we get overall? B. Okay.
We got a B. Yeah. So look, I'll download the screenshot. I'll send it over to Curtis, and Curtis will post this when we're done with the draft. So how do you guys feel about it?
I love it.
I mean, I don't like wide receiver at 8. You know that.
Chat, what do we think? Are we just ignoring the Nick Scott? Hold on, look at Zachary East. Oh, where'd Zachary East go? Here he is. Are we just ignoring the Nick Scott signing? You're damn right. You're damn right. I am.
Special teams guy.
No, he needs to be a camp body guy. I'm sorry, man.
He does not count as a safety signed in that room.
Oh, but he has familiarity with the system. Yes, so do the other people that sucked last season. But like, we got rid of Xavier Woods, and he was our starter that played every single game.
I think we might be able to get Borgales or one of these rookie kickers undrafted.
Eddie P isn't even signed to the roster.
Eddie P's not going to be here, dude. We got what, Matthew Wright? Matthew Wright is the only kicker we have on the roster, right?
But Jack, give us a grade. Give us a grade on this. Ricky, can you kind of scroll down or zoom out so they can see the whole picks, or is that not possible? I don't know.
Hold on. There you go.
There we go. So what do you guys think of that? If you could give us a grade based off of that, give us a grade, A through F.
A through B.
What do you guys think?
A through B. Scale of 8 to 10. What do you think?
Only one DT. Yikes. Alex, come on. We signed like 8 in free agency, dude.
Yeah, he's doing his bit. He's doing his bit. It's the same thing he does when he talks about wide receiver. He's like,
do you really think,
in this elite room?
Ricky, do you really think O2 ain't going to be in there in the 4th round? There's no way.
I had heard something about Washington being interested in him potentially with the back of the 1st.
That's what I saw. Like I've seen a mock draft of him in the 1st, which is
I don't think he's there. I mean, that's the whole thing about these drafts. I don't know that Andrew Makuba is there at 74. It depends on how other teams value. Now he could be because safety is an undervalued position, but for O2, this is a guy who is transitioning over to edge full time out of linebacker. Has all the measurables, showed the juice, showed the get off, and showed an understanding of a pass rush plan. NFL teams are going to covet that, man. Like they're going to want to get their hands on that ball of clay. I don't know that you're going to see teams pass over on him 3 different times before you get your second chance of the 4th round to get him. So no, I don't think that's ultra realistic. But guess what? PFF let us do it, and that's their fucking problem. And despite Curtis's best effort, I still think you came away with a decent draft here. No matter how hard he tried to interfere and ruin it.
Take Ollie Gordon in the 2nd round. He
right.
I don't think I was pushing for that, but I'm curious too. I agree that PFF is off on a lot of stuff, but there was a couple picks last year that we did in the final mock before the draft that lined up pretty well with how the draft played out. I know the center that escaping me from Wisconsin, he was picked around that we were looking at him. Same thing with
Hunter Wohler. Yeah.
No. This is last year. The center from Wisconsin that got picked, I think, to the
Tanner
Colts.
Bortolini.
Yeah. He went around where we were looking at him. Same thing with I think JT Sanders lasted till around the 4th round when we were looking at him too. So there are some.
If you recall, I was always ridiculed for not being high on JT Sanders. I just want to put that out there just in case.
Hey, it's early. Okay.
No, I hope it works out, dude. I'm a Panthers fan.
You're
I'm not
still hitting the drum on Tommy Tremble and number 80 that we didn't even talk about tonight. We needed to talk about 80.
We're not talking about 80. I thought that was the fucking first rule of Fight Club is to not talk about 80.
And boys,
we need to talk about the allegations of 80.
Bryson is getting so pissed off at us because he's got to go to the bathroom.
Well, you guys all got to go on a break, and I was still here. So quit your crying. You'll be all right.
Look at him. Wow.
Let me see here. Hold on.
Now he's just going to take a moment of silence.
No, I'm trying to read some of these.
Bryson's like, hey, I really got to take a leak, man. Can we get this over with? And Curtis is like, yeah, give me 5 minutes to think about it.
No, I think we're going to end it there. We got, what is it officially? Yeah, we're officially less than a month away from the draft. We will be back. We're trying to land some guests coming up here for you guys over the next couple of weeks as we get closer. We'll have the week of the draft. We're going to bring some folks on that we typically have on. We'll do one final mock of what we actually think will happen. We're gonna try to predict what Carolina does in this draft. So we got a lot on tap coming for you guys over the next couple of weeks. So stick around for that.
Had a lot of people in here tonight, man. Appreciate everyone in here too.
Yeah, and if you guys don't, 740 some. If you guys do not subscribe to our YouTube channel yet, please do. We would appreciate you guys so graciously for doing that. It helps boost our numbers and allows us to grow this channel as much as we can. So we would appreciate you guys if you would hit the subscribe button on YouTube.
Hey, Alex, will you hurry up and get down to Raleigh? Because Bryson has to take a leak, so he's going to need you to hold it for him. All right, go ahead.
But yeah, we will see you guys next week. And until then, keep pounding.